that is like the #1 unbreakable rule of doing things outside is always tell someone where you're going, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're with 15 people, you tell someone where you're going. I was on a backpacking trip with my friends. I had planned to stay a few extra days and hike alone. I didn't really tell anyone that they weren't going to be with me. So I pack up camp and I leave, and I stop a few times to kind of, you know, rest or hang out at a spot or grab something to eat. And about midway through that afternoon, I started realizing that I didn't really recognize any of the mountains I was on. Unfortunately for me, what I didn't realize was the river forks, and the main river, which I thought I was following, actually took off west from me, and I continued on straight the path I was going. And that's about the time that the tributary got very small and turned into a creek as I was going along, and then just kind of ended. Like, it was just a small pool, and then it was done. And that's when I realized that I was in trouble. And I had a mental picture of the map, and I thought, cut west, and I'll eventually hit the river. And so there I go, just cut off cross country. I greatly underestimated the difficulty of the terrain. And I run cross country, so I'm used to, you know, a lot of leg work, and this was destroying me. But I mean, you know, I'm 17, I'm invincible, right? Nothing can kill me.
Whenever I was cutting firewood, I just kind of started chopping away at it. I couldn't get it cut, I couldn't get the log cut, and it was real frustrating. And then I kind of realized that, like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. That coming out here alone was a really dumb idea, because I don't know at all what I thought I did.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll just get to the bottom, and I'll camp. I'll just set up camp at the bottom, and I'll get up in the morning, and I'll find the trail. I remember crawling in my tent and thinking the only thing at this point that is going to protect me is a piece of nylon, you know, a thin piece of fabric that's made of my tent. That might be one of the most miserable nights I've ever had. At that point, I didn't even care whether I got my way out. I just wanted the sun to come up. And it was just weird, because I've never had that experience any other time with, you know, camping or climbing, anything like that. Like, I've never had that fear. And it was just this completely overtaking, like, paralyzing fear. And I didn't get any sleep. I just didn't sleep that night. It was almost like I'd been rescued. Like, it was almost the same feeling when the sun came up. I got up, I was like so relieved. I eventually just came across this animal trail, and so I just followed that, and then that one ended, or I lost it, and so I was like, you know, I kind of like, that was just another like dent in my like confidence. I saw the hiking trail like coming through, and it was just this dirt trail, and it was like God had reached his hand down and placed $10 billion in my lap.
So I stopped paying attention, and I kind of looked up again. I didn't realize where I was. Seriously, like, I found the trail. I'm out of here. How the hell did I get lost again? Like, how did that happen? And I started panicking, and I was like if I overshot it, you know, this is one of those, like, I knew that everyone went down the other side of the trail, that this side of the trail was pretty uninhabited, and if I didn't find my way out of here, there was a small chance that anyone was going to come up on me. It was almost comical, because everything that I'd been looking for, the parking lot and roads and everything, were literally like 10 feet above me. I just couldn't hear or see anything because of the trail I was on was a deep path.
Eventually, I started seeing things that were recognizable, things that I had passed the 2 days before that. And I went and I found them and followed the trail up and found the parking lot and called my dad, and he came and picked me up. It was sort of an anticlimactic ending, but it was just I mean, you know, just like this hopeless feeling of being lost is just something that I was so relieved to have lifted.
I did majority of the camera work because, well, Andrew was in the film. I like a lot of the zooms and pans that I ended up doing, a lot of the rack focuses. I think those turned out pretty well. Added a little more mystery. A lot of students, I guess, use zooms and pans, just there's no real reason behind it, but whenever I was out there, I kind of just used those to follow the movement of Andrew.
We had succeeded in making a good reenactment in another film, and so we knew that we could do it. And I remembered a documentary I'd seen before called Touching the Void that was all reenactment, and we thought, what if we could do an all reenactment story about this thing that happened to me last year? So we just thought, since we had successful reenactment and we kind of knew how it went, that if we did a little more research, we could pull off a reenactment for an entire piece like the movie had been done. I think a lot of things is getting people's attention and holding it, and I know that sounds kind of obvious, but it's very difficult to do because you can do a lot of gimmicky things to get people's attention that people get fed up with as it goes on. So it needs to be very interesting from the get-go, but then it needs to have depth. It can't just be, you know, camera tricks, cool shots the whole way through. If you have no story, no one's, I mean, it's like, oh, that looks cool, but why do I care?